After finally hitting point cap this league, I felt a surge of relief wash over me. The first few weeks were an unstoppable rush of dopamine, whereas the race to the finish was an exhausting, arduous journey. I've never reached the end of a league and been left with such a looming sense of ambivalence. There's something about the experience that I can't quite put my finger on. The major deviation of my build that went against the established meta was taking Soul Harvest at tier 5 and then Flow State at tier 7. The vast majority of players instead took Larceny at tier 5 and reloaded into Soul Harvest at tier 7. This was definitely the superior strategy for anybody who wasn't looking to hit point cap, but for those of us looking to completely finish the league, the difference in time save was marginal at best. It may seem simple on the surface, but the difference between picking Larceny or Flow State had vast implications on the 50 million skilling grinds. The skills affected by these two relics were the gathering skills, mining, fishing, and woodcutting, their affiliated artisan skills, smithing, cooking, and firemaking, as well as thieving and crafting. The main appeal with Larceny was the ability to solve both crafting and smithing in less than an hour through crystal bowl singing in Teronwyn. After about 10 hours of AFK thieving, you could get 200 million thieving XP, 50 million crafting and smithing XP, a skilling pet, and the crystal crown, totaling somewhere around 4,000 points, still in the early days of the league. You would, however, have no way of pushing any of the other skills forward any faster. Fishing trout and chopping teaks yielded around 2.5 million XP per hour, which makes those both 20-hour grinds. Mining iron would be around 2 million XP per hour, making that a 25-hour grind. For firemaking, there was about 10 hours of winter totes. And then lastly, cooking was a free solve because of Hotfoot. This brings us to a total of right around 80 hours to solve all 8 skills. I will say that you could bring some of those AFK grinds down a bit by using tick manipulation, but I definitely needed a decent amount of AFK grinding over the course of a month. Now, let's look at flow state. The trout fishing and teak chopping grinds were cut in half, making them 10-hour grinds. The mining grind was also 50% more efficient, but because we needed to solve smithing through hotfoot mining, we ended up spending about 30 hours mining iron. At Wintertote, flow state not only doubled the chopping speed of Bruma logs, but also made us 50% more efficient at burning the logs themselves, bringing the Wintertote grind down to around 5 hours. We also had to actually solve thieving and crafting, which ended up being about 15 hours each. Obviously, cooking was still an auto-solve. We did end up spending about 5 hours catching eclectic implings for medium clues, which would have taken only a few minutes with Larceny. For the 200 million XP, Skilling Pet, and Crystal Crown, we simply used the soul shards from the 50 million farming grind to craft blood runes. The worst part of that grind was selling the runes to the shop, but it still only took an hour or so. All in all, those same 8 skills took right around 80 hours, just like Larceny. One of the unforeseen benefits of flow state was during the Volcano grind. Because I went about 3 times rate on the Volcano shard, I probably ended up saving around 5 hours because of flow state, both improving the mining rate of the Tephra, as well as increasing the damage I did to the boss. Yes! It took a second for me to notice. Only 3 times right. We got it. That wasn't too bad. There really wasn't a significant benefit to going one way or the other if you knew you were planning on point capping. It was really more about whether you valued that big point boost early on or wanted to reduce the slow, monotonous AFK grinds. Despite that, I didn't meet a single person in the point cap community who picked flow states. In fact, flow state will likely be remembered as one of the least popular relics of all time. This is pretty mind-blowing to me. It was a really fucking fun relic to mess around with. Definitely worth trying just for how crazy strong it was at skilling bosses. I'm consistently blown away by the sheepish behavior of the RuneScape community. Not only does everyone just follow the meta and the popular content creator builds, but they also actively and vitriolically jeer at anyone who isn't meta-slaving. Perhaps it's more of a reflection of internet/social media culture as a whole nowadays, but it's still really fucking obnoxious to me. While we're on the topic of meta-slaving, let's talk about water thorns. The first half of this league, my pact build was completely focused on triple mega rare tribrid. I maxed out powered staves, two-handed blind bag, and bows to get the most power out of my Rush Shadow, Scythe, and T-Bow. This build was so much fun. It was ridiculously strong for single target bossing. Sometimes my blind bag would go off so hard that Vardorvis would lose half his HP in a single swing of my scythe. The Elder Maul sound. Boom. Dude, the blind bag is so silly. Olm would get chunked from every arrow coming out of my T-bow. We're getting pretty low. Oh, that was an 8,000 XP drop. I was about to say we're getting low rolls. I don't know about that. Oof. It just fucking shreds him. And anything in between would melt to my 2-tick shadow. Shadow is so ridiculous. However, I purposely saved the high-end multi-combat content like Zook and Soul for the second half of my League's experience so I could respec into Water Thorns. Absolutely nothing could come even close to the DPS level of Water Thorns in places where there's tons of low HP, high-hitting enemies bombarding you in every direction. While I'll admit that I had an absolute blast on the first and maybe even second Coliseum run just standing in the middle and watching every enemy kill itself, that song and dance got repetitive real quick. I have no reason to interact with anything. They just all die. But I tanked a... I'm still at full HP. This is so silly. By the 30th soul clear, I could barely keep my eyes open. I'm actually kind of bored now. It was exciting doing all the combat achievements and shit and hunting the glory. Now it's just fucking boring, honestly. I understand that for a lot of people, they come to Leagues because it's their only chance to try high-end content like Coliseum and Inferno, because they simply don't have the skill level or attention span to engage with content like that in main game. I get that Jagex wants there to be a safe build for the more casual persuasion, but I really don't know what the fuck the plan was with this Water Thorns build. Most of my time doing Jad and Zook, I literally walked away from my computer. Is that supposed to be fun? I think if there's one thing I could point to that sucked all the life out of playing Leagues for me, it'd be respecking into Water Thorns. What's worse is there was no reasonable alternative. You can't clear Soul in under 10 minutes by hiding behind pillars and fighting enemies one at a time. If Jagex wants to put a safe, casual-friendly build out there, that's great. But there also needs to be a risky, high DPS build that outperforms the safe one. If you're going to make the safe build the highest AoE DPS build, you might as well just turn the game into an auto-battler. Walking away from this league, I can't shake how conflicted I feel. It really feels like with just a few simple tweaks, the experience could have been just so much smoother. Still, it was probably some of the most fun I've ever had playing RuneScape. Oh! Bro! 1KC Mega Rare Voucher! I died too. Bro, blessed. Fucking blessed.